Hey, Pretty Girl Club. Welcome to another episode of the Decentering Men series. In this episode, I'm going to talk about how most men are not romantic. A lot of us have been socialized since we were young to believe that we're going to find our Prince Charming and we're just going to spend our lives serving him. That's another undertone that I never really liked about the way that people socialized us as little girls. So you would go from serving the evil stepmother to now having the privilege of spending your life serving your Prince Charming or serving the king and sitting beside him on his throne. But have you ever noticed how most men, they always start off very romantic, right? Most men are just doing this as an act to get what they want. So it's either to get sex or whatever, or to get a girlfriend, get a wife. Have you ever noticed how as time goes on in the relationship, the dates are few and far between, they're farther apart. It went from going on a date twice a week to suddenly it's once a week, and then it's once every 2 weeks, and then it's once a month, and then it's once every 6 months. Romance is something that men often use as leverage to get what they want out of a woman. A lot of men will dangle romance in front of your face, or they will dangle the possibility of a romance in front of your face to get you to chase him or to get you to kind of seek his validation or spend time with him. Not to mention the fact that most men can't even afford to be romantic. Being romantic costs money. It costs money to buy flowers every week. It costs money to take you to a nice restaurant. It costs money to find nice places to go, gas money and stuff like that. And most men, they don't even have the extra income or the extra funds to even afford that. When men are fantasizing what they want their relationship to look like, men's fantasies are based on porn. Women's fantasies are based on romance and Disney movies and stuff like that. So most men, they're not going into a relationship expecting I'm going to buy her flowers every week. I'm going to take her on a date every week. I'm going to plan something special for us. I'm going to do some chores to take the load off of her every week. Most men aren't getting into relationships fantasizing about that. A lot of men get into relationships and marriages so that they can have access to free sex and free labor. So whether that is domestic labor, emotional labor, he gets to feel seen and heard, because I've talked about on this channel how a lot of men are touch starved and a lot of men are validation starved. And because a lot of men are validation starved, this leads them to doing different things for validation that normally women would view as abnormal or weird to do in the context of a relationship. For example, have you ever noticed how a lot of men, they won't give up all of their girlfriends once they get into a relationship, or like any girls that they're texting? Some men will even keep the phone numbers of their exes in their phones, or they will keep them as friends on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat. And this is because most men are so starved for validation to the point where even if the woman has rejected him, even if the woman has dumped him, that man still doesn't mind keeping that woman in his life because she is still a free source of validation that he rarely ever gets. You guys have to remember that most men operate in this world invisible. A lot of men, they're not visible. They don't have women looking at them like how us women have guys looking at us. As women, we've got guys looking at us everywhere we go. We've got guys trying to catcall us or trying to walk up to our cars and stuff, or, talk to us at the grocery store, paying for our groceries, paying for our gas, giving us free coffees. Most men have never experienced that in their lives, let alone experiencing that on a daily basis. And so women receive an abundance of validation all the time. We are overwhelmed with validation. And this is because of men's addiction to things like access to sex. They're addicted to women in general. So a lot of men, they can't even go 30 days without jacking off to a woman. So this is why you have so many quote unquote simps, or guys who, they are willing to buy you a drink. They are willing to risk their jobs by giving you free drinks at the bar, or, letting you get into a club for free, even though he's supposed to be the bouncer and he's supposed to collect all of the money. But men do these things because they are so validation starved. They will do almost anything just to get near a woman, just to have access to a woman. Most men are so starved for validation to the point where they are willing to sacrifice being loyal to you just so they can have that moment of validation with another woman. And so this is why we see in a lot of relationships where women are just naturally more loyal to the guy than the guy is to the girl. So for example, How many of you ladies have ever been hit on or flirted with by a guy who has a girlfriend or has a wife? I know that I have. A lot of men in the workplace, they will do things like this. They'll try to take you out to lunch. They bring you lunch every day. They're bringing you Christmas gifts, Valentine's Day gifts. They're bringing you all of these different things because in return, they're hoping that you will at least gaze their way. They're hoping that you'll at least look at him and smile or say hello to him in the office. You don't even have to sleep with these guys, and they will still purchase you gifts or give you free things because they simply want validation. This is how desperate a lot of guys are for validation. And so if you are with a guy and you have all of these romantic feelings about him, but then he is over here bringing romance to another woman, obviously that's not romantic at all. And that's why I say that most men are not romantic. So when you're getting into a relationship with a guy, you're not going to, like, most likely you're not going to have him buying you flowers all the time and doing all of these different romantic acts towards you for the next 80 years. Not only is that financially not feasible for most guys, but even a guy who can afford that is most likely not going to do that. A lot of men don't even have the loyalty inside of them to even think, oh, what would she like today? What would my girlfriend like? Can I get her? Maybe I'll go get her a coffee. Maybe I'll stop by the coffee shop and make sure she has a latte on the table when she gets home from work. And then tomorrow I'll do something different to show that I love her. Then the next day I'll do something else to show that I love her. And then after that I'll do something else to show that I love her. No, most men's definition of love is just, hey, as long as I'm physically present and as long as I did not cheat on you or abuse you, or even if I did cheat on you and abuse you, as long as I don't leave, as long as I am still, the marriage papers are still signed, I'm still married on paper, or as long as I still say that I'm with you, then that's enough. You should be grateful for that. I've noticed a lot of guys tend to have this attitude, almost like this bare minimum attitude. So this is why I say that most guys are not romantic. So if you're a woman who is single and you have that FOMO, you feel like you're missing out on fun romantic experiences. For the most part, all of those romantic experiences tend to happen more at the beginning stages of a relationship only, not once you pass 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, 10 years of marriage, 30 years of marriage. No, those romantic behaviors, they tend to get smaller and smaller over time. So it started out where he would buy you a dozen roses in order to ask you on a date. And now he just texts you and says, hey, you want to go get some Red Robin tonight? So the acts of romance become less effort over time for the man because the way the man views it is like, okay, I've already earned you. I already got you. So I don't have to keep earning you. I don't have to keep proving myself to you. I don't have to keep doing these things that I did at the beginning of the relationship because I've already got the prize. I already got the access to the sex. I already got you to call me your boyfriend in front of your friends and family. I already get to be seen with you in public all the time. So why should I now go out of my way when I already put in all of that legwork at the beginning? No, now I'm going to nest and rest. That's how a lot of guys think. They'll be like, no, now I get to finally kick my feet up and relax and just enjoy the fruits of my labor. This is how a lot of men behave because this is how men are socialized. Men are socialized to the point where it's like you have to work to produce something, and then after you work, you get paid. You get your payout. So for a lot of men, a relationship with you and the sex, that is his payout. So that's all he's really expecting a lot of times once he's been with you for a while. He's like, oh no, I've already paid the price in the beginning. So just give me my payout now. Give me my sex. Give me, whatever I'm expecting of you. And that's it. When it comes to relationships, a lot of men tend to think of relationships where it's like you make the initial investment in the beginning before the relationship begins. So he asks you on the dates, he plans the dates, he pays for them or whatever. And then you being in that relationship with him, you sleeping with him, you marrying him, you birthing his children, cleaning up his dishes and kind of being his live-in maid, that is the return that he is expecting on that initial investment of taking you on 12 dates or taking you on however many dates it took for you to commit to him. Most men are not romantic like in the ways that you're fantasizing about it. And this is why I do see a lot of women saying things like men are not capable of love. And they're saying that because men in general are not capable of the type of love that women are actually looking for. So for fun, I went and looked up some Reddit comments about romance and men and kind of like what men had to say. So this one guy says, women have wildly different definitions of romantic. Men also think of romance a little differently. I was in a relationship and she would always complain that I never bought her flowers or did shit like that. But in my mind, I'm like, bitch, I pay your cell phone bill and buy all the groceries and pay every bar tab, cook, etc. Fuck flowers. Why don't you appreciate that? See, it's a bit of a disconnect, right? So, like I said, a lot of men, they just view kind of the initial payments. They almost view it as like they're buying you or they're purchasing a girlfriend. So it's like, okay, I paid XYZ $5,000 to take you on a vacation, or I paid whatever amount of money in the beginning of the relationship or throughout the relationship. So you should just be glad I'm here. Forget about me being emotionally available. Forget about me being super thoughtful and trying to do something just to put a smile on your face. I did my duty. A lot of men think in terms of duty. They don't think in terms of emotional, romantic feelings. They're not thinking of you like, oh, I just love you so much and I just adore you so much to the point where I'm going to do all of these things while expecting nothing in return. No. A lot of men, they're going to have expectations of you in return. So they're going to buy you the flowers with the expectation that you will probably have sex with him. You will not talk to other guys anymore. You're only going to give him the validation, just like the simps or the guys that you see at work and stuff who they give you the free drink or they give you the free stuff. They're expecting something in return usually. They are expecting some form of validation. When it comes to women and the way that we view romance, the way we tend to think of romance is it is a nice way that the guy is expressing his feelings towards you. But a lot of men, this goes back to my previous episodes, a lot of men are not even aware of their own feelings. They don't even have a vocabulary to describe their own feelings. So why would they then be able to take it a step further and describe their feelings via a romantic gesture? This is why most men are not romantic. It's because they genuinely do not know how to describe their feelings even with their own words. So no, they're not going to be able to do anything romantic unless, of course, they look up what other people are doing and then they just kind of copy that, or they kind of copy and paste romantic poems and then they like give it to you. I've heard of guys doing stuff like that where they will kind of copy what another guy did and then they'll do that to you. So this is why a lot of women complain and then they'll say, oh, his Christmas gifts weren't very thoughtful, or when it came to my birthday, he wasn't very thoughtful with his planning. Well, this is because a lot of guys, they're not good at expressing their feelings in any capacity. So not just with their words, but also with romantic gestures. They don't have all of these romantic gestures that they can think of in their minds. Men did not grow up on Disney movies. They didn't grow up on romantic comedies like how you did as a woman. And so to expect that the average guy is going to be romantic and he's going to continuously be romantic for the next 80 years of your life. Generally speaking, that's an unrealistic expectation. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I mean, if you want to spend the rest of your life searching for a needle in a haystack or waiting around for your unicorn, then by all means, go ahead and do that. But here on this channel, I promote romanticizing your own life, treating yourself special, purchasing yourself flowers from the grocery store, for God's sakes. I think that a part of taking back our power as women is to stop waiting on someone else to show us how much they care about us. We can begin to show ourselves how much we care about us by doing special and romantic things for ourselves. Like for me, I will schedule myself a spa day every couple of months. I'm not waiting around for some guy to hopefully pick me and hopefully he will think of scheduling me a spa day. Oh crap, we've been together for 5 years and I've never had a spa day. No, I've learned to do things that are thoughtful and do those things for myself because that's a way of raising my own self-perception and raising my own sense of value. And this is why I say that if a guy is coming into your life, if he is not improving or increasing your life in some way, or if he is not at least helping you maintain whatever level of living you had before, then in my opinion, it's a net negative. And what a lot of married women won't tell you is that they have had to sacrifice certain aspects of their life. They've had to sacrifice certain luxuries that they used to have in their lives so that they can get and keep that man. So for example, let's say you like to do spa days that are like $500 to $1,000. I know that for me, some of my spa days can get up to $500 because you're getting your nails done, your toes done, maybe getting a facial. That's about $150 depending on the type of facial I want. Brazilian wax or whatever, so that's like another $60 to $70. So it can easily get up to $500 or even more. And sometimes I'll get laser lipo or, one of those other luxury services. So let's say you're a woman that likes to do those things, or you like to get your lashes done. Getting your lashes done can be like $500. I remember one time I got my lashes done. I never went again, but I got them done and it was like $400 for me to get the type of design I wanted on my eyelashes. But a lot of women who have lifestyles like that, they're actually giving up that lifestyle in order to be married to a man, because most men obviously don't see the point in spending $500 to $1,000 every couple of months on eyelashes or on spa treatments. So the majority of men you will encounter, like I said, not only does the average man make around what, $30,000 to $40,000 a year, maybe 50,000 at most, he can't afford that. He can't afford to get your lashes done. So you're probably going to be going 50-50 with that man. You're still paying for your own services. And then eventually, if you guys do ever get married, or you begin sharing your finances in any way, he's going to start complaining. Why do you spend so much on your eyelashes? You need to save your money so that we can purchase a house. You need to save your money so that we can get a new car. Have you ever noticed how a lot of guys, whenever he wants something and it's something that you don't want, he will try to use terminology like we, like, oh no, this is what we need for our future. We need to have this car. We need to have this house. We need to, get the car washed and do all of these other things, get the lawn mowed and all of that. Notice how a lot of men, they're not going to pay for that stuff by themselves. They're expecting you, their woman, to financially contribute to that. So a lot of women who are married, most of them are in 50-50 relationships. By the way, this is statistically true. Any woman in your life who tells you differently is most likely lying. She's probably too embarrassed to admit or to say that she's in a 50-50 relationship, or she's just not ready to leave it, or whatever the case may be. So she's not going to tell you the real details of what's going on. But the average woman is actually sacrificing in order to get in these long-term relationships and stay in the relationships. And this channel, it's really not supposed to be anti-relationship. All I'm trying to do is help women to be realistic. So I'm just trying to give you another option. I'm just trying to say, hey, as a person who studies sociology in my spare time and who studies psychology in my spare time, these are the patterns I've noticed. Do what you will with that information. So you can choose to continue going along the path you're going on, or you can say, okay, let me take that into consideration before I date again, or let me make sure that I only date a guy who has a certain income range now, or I will only date a guy who meets XYZ standards. That's all this series is supposed to be, honestly. And also, let's think about the numbers of followers that some of these femininity channels have, or hypergamy channels, or relationship channels that are geared towards women. Let's think of the amount of subscribers some of these channels have. Some of these women have 200,000 subscribers on their channel, 100,000 subscribers, 50,000, 10,000. You're telling me that there are 200,000 high value guys who are just, emotionally available, financially available. They're not going to go 50-50. He has no kids, no baby mamas, no child support payments, no alimony payments to his exes. He prefers black women / MLS women / 200-pound women, or, the average demographics of the women who are following these channels, and he's ready to date you, and he happens to hang out in your city, your town, your neighborhood, and he's just going to walk up to you and offer you the soft life. I mean, come on, let's think about actual statistics here. What is the actual probability of you meeting a guy who is going to instantly give you the soft life, or even you meeting a guy on a dating app, or whatever guy you're dating, for him to give you the soft life? All I'm saying is that from a statistical standpoint, it is more than likely not going to happen. So you can do what you will with that information. I'm not trying to tell people to give up all hope or to be negative. All I'm trying to say is, hey, you may want to try some other strategies. You may want to decenter this and not revolve your whole life around this, because you may find yourself getting disappointed or getting more and more impatient as time goes on. And I feel like the reason a lot of women get impatient and they get sad and upset, it's because they've been lied to. You've been lied to by Disney Channel. You've been lied to by the women in your life who are pick-me's, who have tried to pretend that their husbands are high value. You know those women that say, not my man, not my man, not my man. Those women they're trying to promote their husband as being high value, when in reality, that woman's definition of high value could be different than your definition. Her definition of high value could mean, oh, we still go 50-50, but as long as he's nice to me and faithful, then I'm good. Okay, that's her definition of a high value guy, or a guy that's worth her time. Your definition might be, he needs to have muscles, he needs to be attractive, he needs to be college educated, he needs to talk to me in a nice, respectful way. Because I've met some women where their husbands, he has a job or whatever, but it's like, okay, she makes more than him. And then I also don't like how some of these men talk to their wives. Like, this is in my own family. I'll be like, okay, but I don't even like how he talks to you. If a guy talked to me like that and like kind of yelled at me and is like, why are you doing this, I would be divorced from him. So that's not high value according to my definition. So I think it's important that we as women decide for ourselves, no, wait a minute, what is my personal definition of what a good man is for me? Because some of these women will be like, oh, as long as he pays my bills, as long as these bills are paid, I'm good. And like, basically, I don't need anything else. But for me personally, oh, hell no. I'm not spending my life with my bills paid, but then I'm getting cheated on and he's ugly. So you're telling me that I don't even get, so for the rest of my life, I can't even sleep with a guy who's even attractive. So now I have to be physically repulsed by you too. And I have to open my legs to you and you're ugly and you're cheating on me. I can pay my own bills. I'm good. I'll pay 100% of my own bills and then you never touch me again. How about that? So some women, they have different standards. And by the way, I'm not shaming you if you're one of those women. It's like, if you want to sleep with a guy who's ugly or whatever and spend the rest of your life with an ugly guy because he has money, that's great. For me personally, I'm no longer giving guys validation who I don't want to validate. So I'm not going to spend my whole life lying and having this cognitive dissonance, lying to myself like, oh, he's kind of cute if I close one eye and jump on one leg and look to the side and tilt my head to the left, then he kind of looks good from that angle. I'm not doing that. Because even if that guy said he's going to pay the rest of my bills for the rest of my life, that's not romantic. So that's another reason why I say that a lot of these relationships you're fantasizing about, they're not actually romantic relationships in the sense of like if you watch a romantic comedy or something where they're looking into each other's eyes and, they're just gazing into each other's eyes. Both of them are attracted to each other and stuff. No, a lot of marriages, in my opinion, a lot of long-term marriages where they've been married for decades, in my opinion, a lot of those couples are actually not actively in love in the emotional sense. You know how people try to say, oh, I'm in love with him, I get the butterflies around him, or I just feel so happy when he walks in the room. I'm excited about him. I love thinking about him. I love talking to him. I love being around him. I love spending time with him. Most married couples who have been together for 30 years, they don't even think like that. It's more of a friends with benefits, roommates, 50-50 situation, or in some cases, even just a friendship situation, just like kind of a, you're just friends, you're not even sexually attracted to each other. So why would I spend the rest of my life trapped in a relationship with someone that I'm not even physically attracted to either, and I'm paying 50% of his bills, and I have to act as his maid, and I don't get to have my spa days anymore? That's not romantic. That doesn't sound fun. When I think of romance, I tend to think of like the other person trying to make you happy, right? But a lot of men in these long-term relationships and marriages, they're not spending 20 years just making that woman happy. If you go and look at TikToks of married women, or if you listen to sermons of women who talk about how to have a good marriage, how to make your marriage last, a lot of the talking points they will give will be talking points like be quiet, don't speak up. If you want him to do something for you and you have to ask him multiple times, it's because you didn't ask him in the right tone. So you need to repeat yourself multiple times and talk in a specific way and motivate him and inspire him to want to do things for you. If you asked him to sweep and mop the kitchen floor 5 times and he didn't do it, you shouldn't go back and say, hey, I asked you 5 times to mop the floor. No, you didn't ask him the right way. And it's like, if I have to turn into an entire motivational speaker and I have to turn into some inspirational new age guru just to get a man to do simple tasks or to get him to want to buy me flowers, then that means that that man's innate nature is where he doesn't want to make me happy. And that's it. In fact, I've heard some women flat out say, marriage is not supposed to make you happy. Marriage is not going to make you happy. Okay, well, if you are already implying that I'm going to spend the next 80 years of my life being unhappy, why would I sign up for that? Especially when it comes to marrying the average man who is not even a multimillionaire and billionaire. By the way, I do have some friends who are married to men who are quote unquote wealthy. These are men who are in the multiple 6 figures, men who are worth a good amount of money to where most women would be like, oh, wow, that's great. She must have such a soft life. But no, just because a man has money doesn't mean he's automatically giving that to you. And it definitely doesn't mean that he's giving you that money freely, expecting nothing in return. Think about men like Diddy. There are more men who are like Diddy with money than men who are not like Diddy with money. Diddy is actually the average man, in my opinion. Most men, when they get into high positions of power and status and they attain a lot of money, they don't tend to use that money and power so that they can protect women. They don't tend to use their money and power so they can do good for women. No, most men who are in positions like that, they use their money to exploit women. They use their money and power to exert over women, actually. That's the whole thing that gets them off, is having the power over the woman. So if you're the type of woman who's like, oh no, I'll only be with him if he has XYZ amount of money, that's fine, but just expect him to exert that power over you, because that is what turns on a lot of men. Even if you look at a lot of the pornography that men tend to watch, the most popular versions of porn, usually it's kind of like this dom sub type of pornography. So this is why Asian porn is very popular, because a lot of the Asian women are depicted in pornography as being very submissive. A guy's just coming in and just dominating her, ramming her. It's not about the woman's pleasure. Or in the pornography, the actress will be pretending like she's enjoying being domineered and, kind of being violently ruptured on the inside by this guy. And so a lot of men, they're getting their standards from pornography. They're getting their standards from Hollywood. Most men are sheep and they just follow other men. So a lot of men probably looked up to Diddy, or they looked up to men like that. So to expect that you're just going to come across this multimillionaire who's just going to be so romantic and so emotionally available and loyal to you, and he's not going to seek out the validation of other women, he's never going to cheat on you, never going to be a porn addict, he's not going to be giving any money to OnlyFans girls or strippers or whatever, to expect that, I would say that statistically speaking, that is not likely to happen. So you're more likely to deal with someone who causes problems than someone who does not cause problems. Having to come up with a fancy word salad in order to get a guy to treat you how you want to be treated, or having to read all of these books on how to keep a man, how to have a good marriage, how to inspire him to do what you want, having to go through an entire psychological analysis of that man and interpret his emotions for him, interpret his words, read between the lines, read between the frown lines on his face, reading his facial expressions. Oh, he kind of smiled when he said that. Was he joking, or was he serious, or did he like it when I did it this way? Having to go through all of that just to get a guy to treat you how you want to be treated, that is not romantic. So I no longer believe in this concept of, oh, I'm married, and so if I'm married or if I'm in this long-term relationship, it's automatically a romantic relationship. No, there are going to be more non-romantic moments in a relationship versus romantic moments. And like I said, this is not supposed to discourage you guys. This is just supposed to help women to look at things realistically, look at things at face value, and stop dating guys for their romantic potential. So I know that we don't date guys for potential anymore when it comes to finances, but let's keep that same energy for emotional qualities as well, because oftentimes a man's emotional availability, or how he treats you, how he relates to you, how he communicates with you, those things are very important too. I don't want to spend the rest of my life having to talk to a man like a 5-year-old, having to treat him like a 5-year-old child. Meanwhile, he can talk to me however he wants to talk to me, and he can disrespect me or say whatever he wants to say. I'm not spending the next 80 years of my life getting talked to disrespectfully by a guy. That is not romantic. That does not sound fun to me. And also, where is this whole notion that, oh, relationships and marriages are not supposed to be fun? It's not supposed to make you happy. Okay, well then why am I doing it? Why would I sign up for 80 years of unhappiness just so I can get a paycheck? What's the difference between that and a 9-to-5 job? Most of us women watching this, we already have jobs. So we already have things that we have signed up for on a daily basis that make us unhappy. But the difference is, at a 9-to-5 job, you get off at 5 p.m. If you're in a marriage, there is no time off. There is no day off. You're sleeping next to that man. You are listening to his fart noises at night. You are smelling his farts in the bed. You are dealing with his boo-boo smell in the morning when he wakes up to go boo-boo. the job never ends. So if we're dealing with unhappiness for a paycheck, there are many other different ways that I can receive a paycheck. In fact, I would argue that a lot of women who don't have to deal with the emotional labor of being in these mediocre relationships, you actually have more mental stamina and mental energy to invest in making money for yourself in a way that's more enjoyable. So maybe you can make money by being an influencer or starting your own business, maybe purchasing a cute coffee shop or something, starting your own Mexican food truck and, cooking if that's what you love to do. There are so many other ways that you can get paid that do not involve emotional trauma or they do not involve emotional neglect. Because my theory is that most married women, especially if they've been married for decades, my theory is that a lot of those women are actually emotionally neglected. And this is because the average man emotionally neglects himself. So how are you going to convince me that he emotionally neglects himself, but suddenly when it comes to his wife and children, he's the most emotionally available person. He is so emotionally supportive. He can talk to his sons about their mental ailments. He can help them to overcome anxiety, overcome depression. He knows how to do motivational interviewing, which is the same thing that a therapist would do in a therapist's office. You're telling me that a man will get into a marriage and suddenly become almost like this certified armchair therapist? So he's going from emotionally neglecting himself to suddenly now he's an expert on emotions? That's complete BS. Most men cannot even articulate their own emotions. So to think that you're going to get into a relationship and then it's just going to be romantic for the rest of your life, a part of romance is emotional connection. In fact, that's one of the main components of romance. It's the emotional connection side. It's him doing all of these nice gestures for you and then you doing nice gestures for him to show how you feel about each other. It shouldn't be this robotic thing. Have you ever noticed how a lot of guys, whenever they do something romantic, it's usually something that's pretty robotic. So it's something that they've often done for other girls in the past. So purchasing you some flowers, taking you to a really popular restaurant that everyone goes to. For the most part, it's not something unique or original or tailored to you. Oftentimes, it's just one man copying another man, or he's kind of like, oh, Sarah from high school, she slept with me when I bought her a dozen roses from the grocery store. So let me stop over by Vaughn's. Let me stop over by Aldi or Giant or the local grocery store. Let me stop over by Tom Thumb and just pick up a dozen roses for like $15 and maybe she'll sleep with me. Is that really romantic? And also, don't even get me started on the fact that men want women way more than women want men. I'm going to use Diddy as an example again. Even with all of his money, with all of his power and all of his fame, he still had to pay money and pay tens of thousands of dollars and spend millions of dollars on women just to get them to sleep with him. So that shows you how imbalanced the value level is when it comes to women. Women often bring so much more value, inherent value, into a relationship that men simply don't bring. And so a lot of men, in order to make up for this huge lack of value that they're bringing, they have to pay up. Most of those women at those parties and stuff, those people wouldn't even be there if there was not an opportunity being held over their heads, such as, either he already paid you, like you're one of the sex workers there, so you already got your bags, or you are getting a potential lifelong career, a contract, you've already started recording music, it's going to be released. So you are getting something directly in exchange. It's a transaction. Most men know that they have absolutely nothing positive to offer you unless they include a major transaction, which is why even men as wealthy and as powerful as Diddy still don't have women throwing themselves at him, willing to sleep with him for absolutely nothing in return. Imagine being a guy who has spent decades working on your career, networking, starting off as the assistant, starting off as like kind of like this wage slave to another man. You had to build up this entire empire, and women still are not throwing themselves at you for free. They are still only throwing themselves at you because they know that you have finances or something else to offer them. Most men know that they have little or nothing to offer outside of physical resources. And so if you're a woman who, let's say you're already getting those physical resources by utilizing your pretty privilege or utilizing your intelligence or whatever it is you're doing to get your bags, then a lot of times having these guys in your life it can end up being a net negative, and your lifestyle can actually go down. Because, for example, let's say you're a bikini model and you post pics on Instagram of yourself in a bikini, and you get a lot of brand deals from like bikini companies or skincare brands, self tanning brands, I don't know. And that is your job. So your pretty privilege is actually powerful enough to pay your bills. Your pretty privilege is powerful enough to, grant you hundreds of dollars a month or thousands of dollars a month. And then a guy comes in and says, "Oh, hey, I want you to like be my wife now. So you need to quit your job. I want you to be a housewife now." But it's like, that guy is not offering to pay you the thousands of dollars per month. He's not giving you a transaction. He'll try to utilize love and romance as leverage over you and say, "Oh, well, if you really valued the emotional value that I bring, then like you would quit your job." But a lot of times men do not bring any emotional value into your life, because a lot of men, they don't value anything emotional. They don't value the intangibles, because a lot of men were socialized to define themselves only based on tangibles, such as sex, money, power, position, status, for the most part, like something where others can clearly see it. Something like emotional availability. Ask a man to define what that means. The average man can't even define that terminology. Most men will bring more negative emotions into your life than positive emotions. Think about it. Think about the last relationship you were in. Think about how many times you were disappointed. Think about how many times that man did not come through for you. Think about how many times you opened up about something really close to your heart, or how many times you were very emotionally vulnerable and that man had nothing to say, not even a paragraph, no words of support, no words of understanding. So a lot of times men do not bring positive emotions into your life after the initial kind of like honeymoon phase or dating phase. So this is why I no longer pedestalize marriage. I no longer view relationships as being on some sort of escalator where you've got marriage at the top, and then right below that is fiance, then below that is boyfriend and girlfriend, then below that is you're single, and then even lower than that is, oh, you're a hoe or something. I no longer create a hierarchy in my mind that is based on my attachment level to a man. Not to mention the fact that if you are going 50-50 with a man, or if you have shared money or joint money, any romantic gesture that he does for you is actually paid for partially by you. So you kind of paid for your own roses. You kind of paid for your own vacation. He used to pay for your vacations when you were first in the dating stage and you didn't share bank accounts. But now that you're married and everything is shared, well, yeah, you're kind of like, you're paying for your own vacation. So I don't know why you're like taking pictures on Instagram. And by the way, I'm not trying to like throw shade or anything, but oftentimes that's really what it is in a lot of these marriages and stuff where people have been together for 30 years. Even if you were a stay-at-home mom or a housewife for 30 years and then he retires, or both of you guys retire, well, you contributed to his retirement by doing all of that free labor in order to free up the time for him to work all of those hours to earn that money so that you can retire. So a lot of these thoughts on romance or on what people think a lot of marriages are like, that's actually not romantic at all. But just for fun, I want to do a little exercise. I want you to think of what romance means to you. How would you want a man to show you romantic gestures? Do you want to have to constantly tell him how to show you his romantic feelings? Because that's oftentimes what ends up happening in these relationships. Oftentimes the woman is kind of complaining her way into getting these roses. She is complaining her way into getting that diamond bracelet or into getting these things. Even people on hypergamy channels, they will tell you, never be happy, never be satisfied, always complain and want more. But it's like, do I really want to spend my life constantly in a state of want, constantly in a state of lack? Like, oh, I still didn't get the necklace, oh, I still didn't get this, I still didn't get that. Well, no, it takes away all of the romantic meaning of it. So like I said, it's not romantic at all. It's just more so transactional, because it's like, if I had to beg or get angry or throw a tantrum just for you to purchase me a Sephora gift card because you were quote unquote thinking about me, well, it has now lost its meaning because I had to tell you the answer. I had to tell you to purchase that for me. Or even worse, I had to financially contribute to that, or I had to ask you for an allowance so that I can purchase that for myself. So that it takes all of the romantic meaning out of it, or at least for me it does. That doesn't look like something I'd really want to look forward to, because I feel like I can get a guy to purchase a gift card for me. A guy who's just a friend, who's just interested in you, he can purchase you a gift card. You don't have to go through a whole entire 2 year long relationship and, like, getting cheated on, going through all these fights and arguments, moving in to get together, cleaning up after him, doing his dishes for him, just so you can have access to an average of only $150 a month extra. Because, by the way, that is the average amount that a man spends per month. And that's in the dating stage. So that is when he's putting in the most effort to win you over. So I'm actually being generous here by assuming that your husband will spend $150 on you per month as far as making you feel special. I'm not talking about bills being paid. I'm talking about romance. I'm talking about things like flowers, chocolates, teddy bears, those types of things. Taking you to your favorite restaurant that you want to go to, taking you out on dates. The average man only spends an average of $150 per month on romantic gestures. If all I need is $150 a month, for God's sakes, I can put a freaking Cash App on my Instagram, or I can start a YouTube channel and just talk shit online and make more than $150 a month. I can literally spend one weekend per month selling something on Facebook Marketplace and make $150 per month. Most men are not reciprocal. Most men do not go above and beyond because you went above and beyond for him. Most men, like, the way that they show love is just their physical presence. That's it. So he's not thinking of it like, oh, I'm going to sit here and talk to you for 3 hours or have a long conversation, or we're going to talk about our dreams together and I'm going to plan out how you can achieve your dreams. Most men don't even know how to achieve their own dreams. How the hell are they supposed to get you closer to yours? If the average man truly achieved his dreams, no man would even be working a 9 to 5 right now. Let's be real. The average man who has truly achieved all of his lifetime dreams, or someone who is well on the path to doing those things, that average man, he doesn't want another man bossing him around, telling him what time he needs to wake up, what time he needs to show up in an office, what time he's allowed to get off. Oh, he has to work overtime this weekend. The average man is not even living his own dreams. And so this is why I feel like Decentering Men is actually mentally healthy for women, because we have to stop looking to guys to fulfill our dreams for us. And we have to stop centering them like, oh no, the man and being in his presence, or him being in my life, that is me fulfilling my dreams. No, it's actually not. Because if you look at a lot of women who are filing divorces, 70% of them are filed by women. So if marriage was truly bringing happiness, the divorce rates would not be so high. But again, happiness is an emotion. And remember what I said earlier about how a lot of guys, they're not good at describing their emotions, and therefore they're not very good at, like, pursuing a particular emotion or kind of seeking after an emotion, fulfilling that emotion. Happiness is an emotion. So most guys, they don't even know how to make themselves happy, so they damn sure aren't going to know how to make a woman happy. And they certainly won't know how to make that woman happy long term and make her happy in many different ways. Make you happy sexually, make you happy emotionally, make you happy when it comes to his loyalty towards you, make you happy when it comes to your friendship with him. All of those things are different aspects of a relationship. Most men can't even define what a real relationship means to him. On average, the average guy is going to say, oh, it just means, like, basically we're just having sex with one another. I mean, that's what I have come to realize, is that a lot of relationships in general are really just you're only having sex with each other. You are exclusively kind of monogamous in terms of dating, romance, and sex. However often or however not often you do that, that's generally what that means. A lot of men are not thinking into it as deeply as the women are. And so this is why most women get very disappointed once they get into these long-term relationships with men, because they'll be like, wait a minute, he's still texting his ex. Wait a minute, he's still on Facebook chatting it up with women. Wait a minute, he's still in these OnlyFans girls' DMs. Wait a minute, he still has a fake account where he's, like, talking to other women about sex, and he feels like, oh, as long as I'm not physically cheating, I didn't physically have sex with her, I just went to the strip club and I just spent some money on some girls. Oh, I just flirted with the waitress. So a lot of women, they end up getting disappointed because they realize that the man is not thinking about her romantically like how she thought. A lot of women, we will shut off our sexuality towards other men. We won't even entertain other men. We will straight up block other men, or block our exes, or, like, not talk to other guys when we're in relationships. But a lot of men do not think this way. And this goes back to the whole being validation starved. Lots of men really just want a relationship so that they have a soft landing once they get rejected by the women they really want, or once they get rejected by other women. And I am convinced that a lot of men get into relationships not because they actually love you or, because they're capable of that, first of all, but it's really because a lot of them lack validation. So they're literally just getting into a relationship with you solely for validation. And by the way, this doesn't have to be a bad thing. If that's what you two have agreed upon, then great. No problem. But if it's something where you're over here thinking, oh no, he loves me, he only has eyes for me, he wants to spend the rest of his life with me, he sees me as the most special woman in his life. Nope, most of the time men have a mindset of, oh, she's good for right now, and if any other woman shows me interest, then I will go with that woman. Have you ever noticed how, first of all, most guys don't leave relationships, they just cheat, because a lot of guys are not even monogamous. But secondly, if a guy is more of the monogamous type of guy, oftentimes when those guys leave you, it's because they have another woman on deck. So a lot of guys will get with girls as almost like this placeholder, or almost like this soft landing for him once he gets rejected by other women out in society or whatever. So this is why us here in the Pretty Girl Club, we will be at work, we'll be at school or whatever, and then guys who are married, guys who have girlfriends will be hitting on us. And it's because they have that soft landing of, okay, at least if this other girl rejects me, then like I still have my girlfriend at home, but if this girl says yes to me, then I can kind of monkey branch from the last relationship and I can get with this girl who is my true type or whatever. This is why guys with girlfriends and wives hit on you. Anyway, what do you ladies think? Let me know what you think in the comments section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.